My name is Paul Michael Taylor, and I'm from the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. in the USA. And I'm here as part of the conference on the 18th century poet Magtumguly taking place this week here in Ashgabat. We oversaw the translation, and I served as editor for the English translation of the poetry of Magtumguly, which we have just published. And I suppose a lot of people at today's lecture were interested in the translation process. A lot of the students here at this lecture are students of English. I urged them to try translating and to critique each other's translations. It's a very important process. They're broken up into stanzas. There's sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 line stanzas. And each stanza is a kind of unit of thought. And we want to preserve that stanza structure in English, but as we all know, the word order in English is quite different from the word order in Turkmen. So we don't try to keep the order of words and phrases within a stanza the same as in Turkmen, but we try to keep stanzas together. And we try to start with an exact translation and make it sound like a more flowing translation, but we also address a lot of red flags, as we say, danger signs, things that people won't understand or things that people will misinterpret because they could have more meanings in English, two or three meanings, and only one is correct. And so we address all those one at a time, and it's a real process of going back and forth, and I wish we actually could have gone more back and forth. In many instances, we would have probably finished a greater number of poems, but we have quite a large selection already, and the selection was picked in a way that tries to include the full range of types of poems, subject matters, and also structural variation. I think that's the correct, we didn't do it statistically like every number of stanzas every poem with this structure has to have exactly this percentage in the selections, but we did it in a thoughtful way. So we have a very good selection, I think, and for English readers who have access to other sources of information, they don't really need to have all the annotations that you would have if you were preparing something that was a translation of a very different kind, a fully annotated, detailed study of a particular poem. And we also tried to develop a design and a format that would be interesting, not too large but not too small, grand and elegant in its presentation, to reflect the importance here of the poetry. And so I hope that this collectively serves as an introduction to Magtumguly's thought and what he considered important. It's part of a series of activities that the Smithsonian has been doing with the scholarly institutions of Turkmenistan, the Ministry of Culture and Academy of Sciences both, over the last few years. For that, I definitely want to thank Chevron for its support. They've made it possible for us to do exhibitions and Culture Days activities. I definitely want to thank the Embassy of the United States here in Ashgabat and the Embassy of Turkmenistan in Washington. The Embassy of the US here was particularly important in the preparation of this translation. So, well, of course, in this case and in previous cases, all of this also proceeds from the esteemed president himself, Gurbanguly Pyragy, who has taken a great interest in cultural matters, and in this case I do appreciate that he also wrote the introduction to this volume, and we appreciate that. It was included at the request of and with the permission of our counterparts, the National Academy of Sciences here.
Hello, my name is Hector Fajardo. I represent here Chevron Gas, and I'm proud to be the sponsor in a very small way of the cooperation between the Institute of Manuscripts and the Smithsonian Institute in the United States to bring to Turkmenistan the wonderful translation and publishing of the poems of the great poet Magtumguly. I think the event that we have seen here today is a very clear example of the cooperation between the two countries and what the private industry can do to promote the cultural ideas of this wonderful country of Turkmenistan. Of course, I want to thank esteemed President Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, the Academy of Sciences, the Ministry of Culture, and of course the Institute of Manuscripts in making all this possible in that cooperation.